just saying, we can be a curious bunch, we Nigerians. And even though we've been told that the Minister of Defense has resigned, citing health concerns, it still would have come as a shock to our many people, especially when we look at all the things going on in the policy right now. So I think the first question I would ask you is, were you also shocked when you heard the announcement that such an important minister had resigned?
I would say I was shocked. Why? Because the time the news came to this public space at about 10 p.m. or so. So I was wondering, why should the minister resign at such a time, you know? But the fact here is, about 2 years plus, when the president nominated his cabinet,
Yes.
I wasn't against the nominees, because I feel, or I know that it's within the president's rights, his prerogative, his discretion to appoint or nominate whoever he wants to nominate or appoint. Yes, but I criticized the president after he has signed portfolios, because I saw that the key security ministries, that of Defense, Police Affairs, and the Ministry of Interior, were assigned to critical and pure politicians. And looking at the situation on ground when President Tinubu came on board, security was nothing to write home about. So I was thinking that he was going to come with some persons, at least, that should have some security and safety background or knowledge, and not bringing on board pure politicians. So I criticized the assignment of our portfolios, and when you look at it, what's their scorecard in the last 2 years plus? Terrorism has increased, whether we like it or not, from when President Tinubu took over. Look at the way and manner kidnapping and adoptions are happening in the country at the moment. So we cannot have a pure politician as Minister of Defense, Minister of State for Defense, also a pure politician, Minister of Police Affairs, pure politician, and that of the Interior, also a politician, but I can see the effort the Interior Minister is making, but the others, I haven't seen their effort at all. Now, when we begin to look at the executive, all headed by pure politicians, when you go to the National Assembly, we have committees on Army, Air Force, Navy, Police Affairs, Defense, National Security and Intelligence. All of them, chairmen of the committees are also politicians. In the House of Reps as well, it's the same thing, just the way the Senate is. So you will not blame the National Assembly, the Senate and the Reps for having politicians as chairmen of these security committees that they have in the National Assembly, right? So I think that what is happening now is that we need to see how to create a path, to see how to begin to address these security issues. We have retired service chiefs, retired military police and all that, DSS that are out there, and even there's some of us that are in the private sector that also have security background and knowledge. We have well enough number on the ground that we should see them saddle such responsibility, you know, and assume these positions we are talking about. So the Minister of State for Defense as well, I should expect that he should also be tendering his resignation letter, because for me, the Minister of Defense, the main Minister of Defense, he has tried his best, but that of the Minister of State for Defense will also go. The Minister of Police Affairs, what is he doing? I haven't heard anything about him in terms of what he is doing with regards to manning that position as Minister of Police Affairs. When the president rejigged the military architecture, I commended him for doing that. But I said it on your program here that I expect the president to also rejig some other security agencies now, so that we can know what we are doing.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Let me bring this to Liberals. How surprised were you when the news broke?
If you're a follower of the event, you will definitely not be surprised. Considering the interface between the National Security Advisor and the American government recently,
okay,
where we also learned that certain concessions and discussions were made, certainly you would know that some things would give. And I would not sit down here to also buy that line that the minister resigned for head ground, on head ground. Because anytime you hear that one big, because in Nigeria we don't resign, anytime you hear that one big fish up there has resigned on head ground like Ganduje and now Badaru, it means that they were asked to step down. But because government would not want to disgrace its own, so they will say they resign on head ground. And you know also, before now, even under Obasanjo, persons, they collect resignation letters from certain persons, even upon appointment.
Yes.
So when they want to ease you out,
they'll put
a date and say you have resigned. So maybe that's also the case here, because
we actually do that in Nigeria.
Yes, yes. And so maybe that's the case here, because I'm also hearing that the former minister former chief of defense staff, retired Lieutenant General Musa, is coming on board. So if that's the case,
Christopher Musa.
Yes. You know, fantastic officer. If that's the case, then certainly the minister didn't resign on head ground. Maybe his resignation that probably had been signed before, and I don't think that's the case, or he was just asked to, step down because the job certainly has become overwhelming. Also, I would want to say, I agree with my colleague in Abuja.
Okay, Dr. Okori.
Dr. Okori, that the Minister for State for Defense ought not to be a minister in the first place at all. There is no... Yes, Matawale ought not to be a minister for defense at all, a minister at all. There is no problem with appointing politicians to man security positions. There's certainly no problem with that. Even, who knows, even as a governor, you get security briefings, you also had relate with your security apparatus. These are former governors. There's no issues. The only problem is when you don't even put any effort. Look at the Minister for Interior. Is he not a politician? But look at the effort. Consistently, he's creating innovation to ensure that, influx of foreigners are checked in Nigeria. Look at our airports today.
Isn't he more of a technocrat than a politician?
If you call him a technocrat in politics, okay, you won't be far from it.
Okay.
So certainly, it's not everybody who is in politics that is also just supposed to be there. But what we have seen so far is the fact that most of these people, they come into politics and then politics just become their occupation, nothing else. And that's what we're seeing from the Minister of Defense that just resigned, and even his Minister for State for Defense. You remember, I just posted a video this morning. You remember when Matawale, as governor of Zamfara, was making excuses for banditry. Oh, not all of them are criminals. Some of them, they live in camps and they have agreement with vigilante, and this vigilante will come and sack them, and so they are, also retaliating. Since when has retaliation with arms become a way of setting scores? And a governor, for that matter, is telling us that, yes, and then also the army will raid their camp, they don't like that, and so that is why it's like a reprisal attack. That was a former governor. And the only thing he could be given is to be compensated with ministry portfolio. And that's why it's like Gumi, who is saying today, include these boys in the budget. Tomorrow you make him a minister for state for defense because he says he knows these people. I think, if anything I hear, is to go by. I think that these were some of the requests that, the American government had made to collaborate, to say, look, we have it on reliable authority that some of your men are in bed with these people, and they must go.
With the
enemy.
Just
the same way, the Saudi Arabian government refused to allow Sheikh Gumi into Mecca recently. So this is not the time for the government to begin to play politics. Why? It means the president is fixated on 2027. Also, it should, because we you can take it to the bank. Even his greatest critic agree that in terms of the macroeconomy, to a very large extent, he's been able to stabilize the economy, even at a price. But for a security, he's so fixated on 2027 that he has completely left security in the hands of bandits.
You prefer the word fixated?
Yes.
As opposed to keeping an eye on?
No, fixated. I prefer the word fixated. And he has left security for bandits. Okay. And this is the time for, because if he provides an enabling environment and a safe country, Nigerians will beg him for third term, not just second term. Okay. So that's what he should be concerned with.
Hey, Dr. Okwiri, very interesting and speculative journey. Even liberals won't disagree with me, because that is how it is sometimes. And as long as we just make it known upfront that, well, this is speculation, because as liberals was punctuating what he was saying with, according to what I am hearing. So if you just evaluate those things, because there's stuff out there. And by the way, both of them are former governors, both the minister and the Minister of Defense, both the Minister of Defense himself and the Minister of State for Defense. Both of them, have been governors respectively. And this whole question that liberals brought up about, look, the round peg in a round hole, I don't know how much of that you think was done. I think there was one time when we had a pharmacist as the Minister of Health, and Nigerians had, wanted people to have to hear their say. What do you think about this? Because that argument, that conversation is also going on in the ambassadorial sector, where some people are also commenting that, look, all these people that you are putting in there are many professional, highly trained ambassadorial candidates. Maybe when we have exhausted that, you can then go to non-professional. But I digress. Please concentrate on the real, the real matter. What do you think, Dr. Okwiri?
Real quick, before we progress with this conversation, I really want to ask you guys this question. Do you think Matawale should also resign, since resignation is what they are using as an excuse when they get kicked out? Do you think Matawale should also resign? If you think so, please drop one in the chat, okay? Please drop one in the chat, my people. Should Matawale also resign, or should Tinubu replace him? Remember, Matawale is the Minister of State for Defense. And both Matawale and Badaru, they are both politicians. They have no military background, and it's probably one of the reasons why the situation was terribly, that's why everything terribly went wrong in Nigeria. Shout out to you, my sister Bilba. How you doing? All right, so please, if you think Matawale should also go, drop a one in the chat. And I want to play a video for you guys. This video is to just solidify the point the analyst was talking about when he said Matawale, while he was the governor of Zamfara State, was actually defending terrorists. How do you make somebody like this the Minister for the State of Defense? Take a listen to this, my people.
Not all Fulani are criminals. Okay. Some are good citizens, but due to some circumstances, they subscribe to such a criminality. And it's not all Fulani are criminals. Some are good citizens, but due to some circumstances, they subscribe to such a criminality. And it's not all Fulani are criminals. Some are good citizens, but due to some circumstances, they subscribe to such a criminality.
Now, listen to that. Just listen to that. He went ahead and talk about these guys that are regarded as bandits. Somebody did something to them. They are trying to fight back. How do you make somebody like this a minister? A minister in charge of defending the nation, and you expect things to go right? Please tell me, my people, how? And this rumor that was flying around, people saying, hey, there are terrorists in the government, there are terrorists in the government. I think the reason they can't mention these terrorists is because they know the antecedents of many of these folks that the president appointed as ministers of one parasitus or the other. It's just crazy, my people. That is crazy. If you're enjoying the show, tap the screen, give us a like. Now, let's go back to this conversation.
Yeah, you see, I have issues when it has to do with putting square pegs in round holes.
Okay.
My brother, Barrister Oshoma, that is in the studio there, he knows that as a security consultant, I cannot function as the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. So you cannot take me to an unfamiliar terrain. You understand? And I have some knowledge about security. Having read up to PhD, did research on crime, criminality, and all that in Nigeria and outside the shores of this country. If you want to give me Attorney General, of course I will reject. We saw in this country when Rauf Aregbesola was appointed Minister of Interior, he publicly said that they have taken him to where he doesn't have any knowledge about.
And he said
right. Nigeria,
but he remained in that office. He remained in that office.
He remained there for 4 years.
You're not about to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
But you see, Nigeria is blessed with abundant human resources. We have people that are professionals, that are well-to-do, that are brilliantly doing well in different professions, right? So we are not lacking Nigerians in any ministry that we have in this country. Look at Dave Umahi. He's an engineer and he's performing well, whether we like it or not. The fact that he doesn't know how much it costs a kilometer to. So the point I'm making is that we have Nigerians that are well-to-do in different professions. So why should we bring an accountant, that's Badaru, as Minister of Defense, then Matawali, well, I don't even know his qualification. No, I don't even know what he read no qualification, because I saw his CV flying on the social media. The highest certificate was primary certificate, right? So in this time and age that we are being confronted with criminality, our communities are being ravaged by bandits, terrorists, and all that. Nigerians are paying heavily for ransom in this country. In the last 1 year, 2.56 billion naira was paid as ransom by Nigerians. And as we are speaking, a lot of Nigerians are held hostage in our forest and all that. And we'll come and put some persons, because they are politicians, we are looking at 2027, and Nigerians are being killed. So the fact is, we must have to see how to rejig the system as we are talking. I want to commend, the Senate President, Senator Akpabio. Some couple of days ago, he dissolved 2 committees that has to do with security. One, National Security and Intelligence, and the other one is the Committee on the Air Force. They dissolved them for not performing. They were dissatisfied with the activities of the both committees, and they were dissolved, right? So this is what we want to see, right? Let us see that the National Assembly are also doing their job. The committees, how well are they carrying out oversight function? Because they are not reporting periodically what they are doing at their committee level. And the majority leader was the one that raised a motion concerning these 2 committees. So Nigerians are saying that the Minister of State for Defense, he's not capable, he's incompetent to be there as well. So just the way the minister has gone, the president should also advise the Minister of State for Defense to also leave, right? The Minister of Police Affairs, What's his scorecard? This is 2 years plus. Or how well has he performed in the last 2 years plus?
Okay.
Look at our police system. Police is 95 years old. What has he added to the development of the institution, right? So we should be able to see that we put square pegs in square holes, round pegs in round holes. I know minister is just an administrative position. Anybody can be there to administer, but the fact is, you must be in a familiar terrain where you know what you need to do as a minister. The Minister of Health is doing his own as a professor, you know, of medicine or whatever, and all that. So let us see that we have these people in place.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Kwori, because where you ended up, I wanted to bring that point to Libros as well. The whole issue of, look, we are fortunate to have Umahi as a minister. He's an engineer and he's doing engineering things and he's able to talk with his colleagues who largely are engineers as well, given the role of his assignment. But there are those who say that for a ministerial position, it's administrative, so they say, and that you don't really need to be as tightly in sync as Patame and health, for instance. What would you say to that? In relation to complaints I've heard about, you know, the Minister of Defense resigning.
There are some ministries we agree that professionalism can never be overemphasized. There are some areas you know that, look, because of the enormity of the challenge that you have, you will need a core professional, not just a professional, who is also sincere, dedicated, and hardworking. There are some also areas where you need a good administrator, somebody who is sincere, who is willing to go the extra mile to deliver. I'll give you instances. I will come back again to the Minister of Interior. The same Aregbe Shola said, I'm in an unfamiliar terrain. And he ended up becoming a minister known for declaring public holiday. We don't know. This current minister came. In fact, when he came, from what we gathered, well, people were, oh, how can you, this is non-juicy portfolio. You know, they have the way they describe them. Oh, this is non-juicy. Oh, why will you leave House of Rep, chairman of committee to go and take a non-juicy portfolio to be declaring public holiday? But today, the Ministry of Interior is one of the most lucrative ministries because of the person who is occupying it.
And we have to be careful. Aviation. We have to be careful what we mean by lucrative.
When I'm not juicy, not juicy. When I mean lucrative, in terms of work, in terms of putting structures, in terms of collaboration, in terms of filling the gap.
So lucrative to who? Lucrative to who?
Nigerian people. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, to the government. Yeah, Nigerian to the government and people.
Yes, to the government and to the people. Now, anytime the government want to market itself, they will point quickly to the Minister of Interior. Look at aviation. A lawyer, a senior advocate, and who, before now, you had a retired captain, flight pilot. There you go. You would believe that that pilot would certainly do far better. He would excel. He will excel. But today, you have somebody who is a non-pilot, had never worked in the aviation sector, but because of his dedication, his focus, and his hard work and his ability to go the extra mile, that's what we expected from the ministers of defense. Look, I'm in an terrain that I do not know, but I'm willing to go the extra mile. Fashola was given super ministries. He was novel in those areas, but he tried his best. You could see him. You could see the mobility. Please also quickly permit me. You went to the area of the current, yes, sir, please, Uncle Yori. Okay.
Mr. George, I'll be right with you.
Mr. George, you know you're an in-house member, please. This release list of ambassadors, unfortunately, it is president prerogative. But we're talking about qualification. Not all of them are bad. You have some career diplomat who's supposed to be taking glory for this opportunity. But the list had been marred by people who should be investigated by now. What are former governors who have failed? Somebody like Governor of Abia State, for example, who has failed woefully in his state. Are we compensating him with a ministerial appointment? Now, because you need to marry this with insecurity. With the challenges we are having and the concerns of the world, America and the rest, we need people who can speak at the highest level for us, because people with vision, people with the ability to say this is what we have done before. If you cannot marry your security with diplomatic positions, then we'll completely get it wrong.
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very much for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Uncle Yeri, good morning, and good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Uncle Yeri, the TVC is the last station standing right now in this country. It's the only station I watch now. And we cannot afford to make it become like others. All these Yahoo stations. I don't watch them anymore. I'm not happy with what I'm hearing from our guests this morning. That the president has left the country for bandits and fixated on 2027.
Yes.
I hope I got that right.
Yes, I made the statement.
And that the commander-in-chief, the politician, has no right to be at the Ministry of Defense. Why is Nigeria a democracy? In a democracy, the military must subject itself to the supervision of civilians. That is how it is ordered. Otherwise, the president is a politician. Yet, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So what stops another civilian to be the one supervising military in the Ministry of Defense? You can talk about the performance of the individual. If the performance is suspect, you look for someone else that can perform better. The Ministry of Internal Affairs. The Internal Affairs is also supervising some security agencies. But can we not see what the civilian politician is doing there? It's about the person, not because they're a civilian. If the president is a civilian and is the commander-in-chief, I do not see anything wrong in a civilian being the Minister of Defense.
Okay, I hear that up to there. I said that your main objection is the principle that you have just enunciated, thoroughly now. That look, I take that.
Let me quickly
but what? So
let me quickly.
One moment, please.
Because he's referring to me. I want to quickly correct that impression.
The point
it's only a friend. Sorry, Mr. George. It's only a friend that can tell you that your mouth is smelling. And if I'm your friend, I should be able to tell you that you're not doing well.
You are there for 1 hour. I only have 1 minute to speak.
Thank you. I just needed to correct an impression.
Okay.
Yes. So, Uncle Yeri, the minister, whether he resigned on health grounds or no health grounds, is not the issue here. The issue here is the security situation on ground right now. Though most of it was instigated by opposing politicians, the security situation needs to be addressed.
Okay. All right.
And now, to address it, you need a befitting supervisor. So if the president considers it necessary to even ask the Minister of Defense to resign, whether they ask him to resign or he's sacking him is immaterial. There's a need for someone that can act what the country needs in that position right now.
Okay.
And if it means changing him, so be it.
I get the point you're making. Thank you very much, Mr. George. I'm afraid we've run out of time for me to go on break, but thank you nevertheless for the point that you are making.
All right. Shout out to my baby girl, Abby. Abby, you're welcome. How you guys doing? So let me point something out real quick, just to give you guys context. This program was aired at TVC, and TVC allegedly is, according to the rumor out there, is owned by the current president. Majority of the people, presenters, and invited guests on TVC, they usually don't open their mouth and say the truth. So I want us to give the guy who was talking before the caller, I want us to give him some flowers for at least being courageous enough to state the obvious, that people with political background are not suitable to be the Minister of Defense of Nigeria. Now, this is where it gets me at times. Imagine the caller, dude who called into the show, still playing the stupid ignorance game by stating that, It doesn't matter. Somebody can be politician, and you can give him the portfolio of Minister of Defense. Isn't that madness? Is that not madness? Right? So let me know what you think in the chat. Okwe, how you doing? Okwe say Obafemi Awolowo single-handedly ended the civil war earlier. That's a different scenario, my brother. The civil war isn't the same thing as the situation we have on ground right now. All over the country, people are being kidnapped, people are being unalive. They have turned insurgency to business. Billions upon billions of naira are going down the drain into the hands of terrorists. Yet, no strategy. It's almost as if the Tinubu government is useless. It pains me to say that, but hopefully we are getting somewhere now. And I think hopefully the president can finally figure it out. So this particular show is just to emphasize the fact that it took President Trump intervention before something significant is happening in the defense sector. So let me ask you this question and I will allow you to enjoy the show. My question is this. Do you think President Trump has anything to do with the removal of the Minister of Defense? Just tell me. Do you think, because I think according to the report I found on these days newspaper, it claims that President Trump has a lot to do, that when the Nigerian authority came to meet with Secretary of State, it was clear, it was said that they gave them two conditions, meaning they gave Nigeria two conditions of what has to be done before America can finally help them. So now that within 2 weeks of that meeting, the Minister of Defense is chopped off. People are saying it's like President Trump gave them ultimatum to fire him. So, and I'm thinking that may be right, because for those who are not aware of this, Badru is actually one of the three people who fought former President Buhari for him to allow Tinubu to have the presidential ticket. You can go and look it online, just read about it online. Badru, El-Rufai, and I think one more highly influential person from the north. They were the one who engaged Buhari and told Buhari that you got to give Tinubu this ticket. Because at that time, Buhari was actually frustrating Tinubu. You all remember when Tinubu went to Ogun State and he couldn't hold himself back as he yelled, "It is my turn, Imilokon." Who remember that? So this Badru is not just an ordinary person that Tinubu can easily remove or something. And that's why allegedly it's looking more and more like the appointment of Minister of Defense was a form of political compensation to Badru. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but I think that's just the situation. So before I move on, can you guys tell me, do you think President Trump is the reason why the minister is finally removed and the right appointment is now in place? And what do I mean by the right appointment? I mean the appointment, or he's not yet appointed. I think he's not yet confirmed, right? The new Minister of Defense, CG Musa, I think he's just nominated, is not confirmed yet. But the point I'm making is that now it seems finally President Tinubu is having the round peg in a round hole. because the man he now picked to become the Minister of Defense is actually the former CDS with long experience in military operations. Compared to Badaru and Matawali, God help us in Nigeria, man. God help us. All right, you can tap on your screen to like. Thank you, everybody. Let me allow you to enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Please, we'll be right back. And Benga in Abuja, he held on right through the break. Good morning to you, sir. Okay, I don't think he's there anymore. But we did hear that he was going to hold on for the entirety of the break.
Hello, are you with me, Mr.?
I've been calling you since. Good morning. Thank you for holding on. I've been calling you since. Go ahead, please.
Yes, so, okay. I think Oshoma is not being fair to the resigned, to the minister that resigned, and the president. Let's go back. I live in Abuja, and with my business, I've traveled all over the state in the north. From 2023 to now, a lot of things have been done. Kaduna Road is free now. You can drive 2 a.m. with your eyes closed.
Jesus Christ.
Ministry of Defense make it happen. Binigwari, before the election, you can't go there. A whole market was closed for 10 years. A whole cattle market, corn market was closed for 12 years. Now, Binigwari to Kaduna, you can go there 12 a.m. When the president was going to campaign there, Lake Lagbaja was in his convoy. Amosan followed him. But now the place is safe now. China Kaduna is safe now. Not inside Kaduna. The Minister of Defense, before, when Lagbaja was there, was giving reports every 2 weeks of bandits killed, terrorists killed, those who are rescued, and those who are arrested. Total about 13,000 plus have been killed who are not alive. About in July to August, more than 50 bandits were killed in an operation in Niger State. CSS, military, and the Red Corporation working together. We can't, because of what is happening now, say that they have not done anything and say the president looks for the every election. No. I live in the north. We know what is happening here. We don't need the social media what is here. Mm-hmm. We feel the heat here. The president has done a lot. I'm telling you. All right. In the area of insecurity. Mm-hmm. Nobody told him to change the service shift. It wasn't Trump warning or blessing God that the service shift. When he declared emergency on training school, not because of Trump, let's give it to who it is. The minister have done his bit. Let him go and rest and enjoy himself. Do not come here and deliver him and call him late because something. All this theory that maybe he was sacked, maybe he was this and this. Let him go and rest. Somebody come and take over.
Okay, so Benga, thank you, because you've just let me know you don't buy into the story. You don't buy into the story that he was pushed. That it actually. I
do not buy into the story.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Between the handing over of the former security ship and this one, these people came in try to do whatever 2 or 3 things. Between that handover, there's a gap, there's a lacuna created, and they work on it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Benga, especially for your dedication in waiting right through the break because you didn't want to miss the opportunity. Dr. Okwori, you're still with us. It's been a few minutes. We've not heard from you. This might be a fine time to come in. Give me your take on what you've just heard.
Well, the last caller, in as much I want to appreciate him for telling us or giving us briefs about what is happening in the north with regards to insecurity. I want to remind him that just yesterday, the 19 governors and the key traditional rulers, the Sultan of Sokoto and the Emir of Kano, all the emirs in the northern states, they all gathered in Kaduna yesterday. There was a reason why they gathered. The reason why they gathered was a result of insecurity. So if the last caller is saying that the north is peaceful, the north is safe, you can drive from Abuja to Kaduna 2 a.m. and all that. I also live in the north. I also travel within the north, but I travel with my heart in my mouth. because you don't know the possibility of a crime happening. 2 days ago, between Kaba and Kogi, come and see committers. They parked on the road. Kidnapping was happening along the road. So, you see, I am not a politician. And I'm pretty sure that Barrister Oshomode is also not a politician. We are like external advisors to the president. So when we find ourselves in a forum like this, and we begin to say things the way we see it and the way we feel it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just the way Oshomo said there, that is only a friend that can tell his friend that the mouth is full of odor or smell, right? We are supporting Mr. President in any way deemed possible. If the president gives us opportunity, say, this is what you want us to do for me, we are ready to do it. So this forum that we have found ourselves, Uncle Yori's program, is an opportunity to tell Mr. President, you are doing well in this regard. But in this direction or in this path, we expect that you should do like this, do like that. The people that are working with Mr. President as his advisors, they will not tell Mr. President the plain truth, the way we are emphasizing or expressing it on your program, right? Because they want to keep their job. We know how people that work with high-powered politicians like Mr. President, how they work with them. They are unable to tell Mr. President the truth.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Since we find ourselves in this situation, we must tell ourselves the truth. And Nigerians are aware of the truth. Things are not going the way it's expected. Right? All right. We want Mr. President to do more because it's his constitutional responsibility to provide security for the citizens of the country.
Okay. What you just finished saying there reminds me ever so slightly of former President Obasanjo, also saying this kind of a thing. Of course, there have been all sorts of, reactions to that, with President Obasanjo coming up with the primary duty of any government is the safety and security of its people, which every president knows anyhow, certainly this president as well.
Absolutely.
Apostle Diamond in Iba. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chief Yoli.
Thank you for calling in.
You are welcome.
Please go ahead.
This issue of security matter is not a laughing matter.
The minister resigning due to health. Okay.
Whether he resigned due to health issue or not, the man has tried his best. Like they are talking about, hello?
Yes, I can. We're hearing you.
They are talking about that Kaduna Act. It seems to be very, very ruthless. Honestly, I'm not working again. I'm now retired. And tell you about the architecture the topography of the northern part of the country. But thank God we are still alive. But it made.
I need 15.
The most dangerous place I used to travel today. Anybody traveling by air, then then talking on the television, is not saying the truth about what is going on. Even the social media would not talk this. Go down to this from at Obagana, where Dangote has his cement factory, then towards Ede. It's the most dangerous place I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Apostle Diamond. I really appreciate your calling in from Iba. You see, this is the situation. We take all views. We want to hear it, all shades and colors. And so there is not everybody that will agree with what everybody else has said. But Libros, now coming back to you. The thing has reached you again.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I've said my piece. It is for others to say their piece. So when people say, I live in the north, I travel in the north, I also travel in the north. My concern really is not when the president came, you had gains. Should the president now be complacent and allow the gains to be frittered away by this sudden uprising?
This is what is annoying some people, that there's no way President Bola Tinubu is frittering in their own eyes and
It
estimation.
is
frittering away gains.
You see, the problem I have is not with the people in power. It's with the people around the corridors of power.
Okay.
Because they are friends to power, they will never tell those in power the truth. So they tell you, you are the best to have happened to this country. Meanwhile,
so you think we're frittering?
Yes.
You think we're frittering our goodwill?
I'm telling you, if you say that, yes, the president was able to secure the Lagos-Kaduna route. Recently, I went to Kaduna, and before now, you couldn't fly to Kaduna. But should we now allow the bandits to come back to these same areas that you have cleared them off? The answer should be no. It should we. Before now, you could hear the idea of bandits going into a school and just plucking children like as if you are packing tomatoes, was forgotten. But should you now allow it to come back and then forget the fact? You say, oh no, I get them before na property. It shouldn't be. So for me, I don't complain without solution. These things will become a recurring decimal until we address the question of education in the north. I visited the Emir of Daura's palace, the Emir of Katsina palace. I drove from Kano through Kazare, all the way to Daura. If you see the number of Almajiris in this palace, I asked myself, where are the Almajiris who are my age mates of yesteryears? Some of them maybe in politics, but others, where are they? Some of no education, no teachable skills. So we need, when Emir Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi was made Emir, the first issue he addressed was the issue of out-of-school children. And they said, no, you shouldn't be complaining about this. It is not your responsibility.
He got into trouble.
He got himself into trouble. Now he no longer discussed that. It's just the economy. And recently, I'm going into this area because the northern governors and elders gathered in Kaduna just yesterday because of this same insecurity. This morning, I posted a video of a senator on my wall, also addressing this issue on what they did in 2014, 2015, and how they were able to solve this problem. So the issue is, you can have immediate win, but is this sustainable without addressing the root cause of out-of-school children, without addressing the root cause of, restructuring of the security apparatus? I think now also, this idea of everybody going to Abuja to collect revenue, if you know that the gold in Zamfara will be your revenue, you are paying a tax to the center, you will not allow people to smuggle that gold. You will not allow to hold sway in those areas. The federal government will say, we have given more money to states. But what is the responsibility of the states in terms of tackling insecurity? The answer is no. And so that is why I said, it is not just enough to say, oh, in this area, this man is not a professional. But he had the opportunity to learn. He had the opportunity to be dedicated. He had the opportunity to go the extra mile. Okay. But there was a question the senator asked in that video. He said, the North refused to tackle this problem because they asked what is the need for us. And until we answer that question, that you don't have to wait for what is the need for you. And that this security, if you are allowed to fester, and the Almajiris that you fail to train today will become some of the bandits tomorrow. Just like Awolowo said years back, that the children of the poor that you fail to train today
are going to be a threat.
Are going to be a threat to the rich tomorrow. And that's what we are seeing happening in the North. And unfortunately, all of us have to bear the consequence. And so that's why we need to go back to those issues.
Let me just go back to Dr. Okwore very, very briefly. Because Dr. Okwore, we're going to have to, our signal in Abuja, it's not going to be available very, very shortly. So we started out wanting to talk about the Minister of Defense, resigning. We don't know where he's resigning. You've heard the comeback. I imagine that you're holding your ground. I'm just guessing that, look, without prejudice, let everybody be heard. Is that the point that you are making?
Okay, Ori. Everybody that is in one leadership position or the other, the president has hired such a person to perform specific tasks and specific functions and roles. We have well over 25 security agencies in this country. They were all established for a purpose, right? The military, the Army, Air Force, and Navy how old are they? They're about 65 years old or thereabout. How old is the police? The police is 95 years old. We have the immigration, the customs, and all that. They were all established for a purpose. The DSS. So, which of these government security agency is not fulfilling its mandate, its responsibility? We should ask questions. Do they have the right tools that they are supposed to use to work with? If you ask me, none of them has come to complain that they don't have the right tools. They've told us that they have the right tools. Government has provided everything. Look at the budget. The last budget of 2025. How much is in need for them? Defense and security, 4.91 trillion naira.
Okay.
The police has its budget. The immigration, they all have their budget.
Okay.
Is it that these monies don't get to them, and the purpose why they have these monies come to them is not fulfilled? The money is not used judiciously for the purpose.
Well,
right. So
we're going to have to leave it there.
See
Dr.
that
Kwori.
we live up to our responsibilities.
But thank you very much, Dr. Kwori. Really appreciate your coming on and indeed your contribution. We're going to have to leave it there because, as I was explaining before, something about the signals that are coming from Abuja are going to be interrupted, very, very briefly. But thank you very much for coming on the program. We really appreciate your coming. We'll continue in Lagos here.
All right.
And Liberals, we wanted to talk about the minister. In fact, we are talking about the Minister of Defense, and then recommendations have come up. I think it is Dr. Kwori who has just left that. He had the Minister of
can give you the assurance to bury those who sacrifice their lives for you, for all of us, every single day. And we will continue to do it. We will not relent. We will not stop. We can give you the assurance that we are going to be there.
All right, this is a significant development in what has become one of the most brazen school abductions in recent times. 315 people, mostly children, taken from a Catholic school in broad daylight. Ribadu's assurance that the students are doing fine is good to calm families and, of course, the nation. But the real test is bringing them home safely and swiftly. Meanwhile, the Northern Governors Forum has announced the creation of a regional security trust fund under which the 19 northern states and their local government areas will contribute a combined 1 billion naira monthly to confront the escalating banditry, terrorism, and kidnapping ravaging the region. The forum described illegal mining as a major contributory factor to the security crisis in the north, accusing artisanal miners and their sponsors of funding banditry and terrorism. The governors also called on President Bola Tinubu to direct Dele Alake, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, to immediately suspend all mining activities in the region for 6 months to enable a comprehensive audit and revalidation of licenses. Well, Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani at the meeting stated that as the northern governors make strides in tackling insecurity, they still face a troubling trend of deliberate politicization of insecurity by some opposition actors. Let's take a listen.
A few voices driven by narrow political motives have worked to create the impression that northern governors have grown complacent or inactive. Nothing could be further from the truth. We know the weight of the mandates entrusted to us. Every governor seated here works tirelessly to secure our communities. We coordinate, compare strategies, share intelligence, and hold one another accountable. Our people deserve stability, opportunity, and hope, and we have never relented in our duty to deliver this.
All right, this was a very, very welcoming meeting. I thought that, the northern governors did very well in meeting and talking about insecurity that has been plaguing us. And the northern governors also reaffirmed, their wholehearted support for the creation of state police and urged northern, federal and state lawmakers to fast-track the required constitutional amendments, encouraging National and State Assembly members in the region to expedite action for its actualization. Let me just start with you, Vimbai, with the meeting, the Governors Forum, as well as, Nuhu Ribadu, reassuring, Nigerians that our girls will return. I believe about 285 or 84 of them are still out there missing. And, we took the story, Dr. Bati, you weren't here, where, the Niger State Governor talked about the fact that I think 11 students were rescued. And that was quite controversial because he didn't give Nigerians the assurance that we want to hear. So it's good to hear that the National Security Advisor is here collaborating and saying that we have technology in place. We have even international partners that are going to be partnering with us to bring our girls back home.
Yes, absolutely. I think the reassurance is welcome and it's important, but I'm not sure it's the message that Nigerians really want to hear at the moment. Because what we've established is that we know where they are, and it seems that by insinuation, it means we know who's keeping them. The argument has been put forward that, the reason why we don't just move in on these people is to avoid collateral damage and so forth. But at this point, I think we need a specific position on whether or not we negotiate with bandits and terrorists. I listened to the governor of Gombe State, I believe, Yahaya, yesterday, who was saying that, negotiating with bandits is not a northern problem, it's a national problem. So it seems that there needs to be a specific direction and strategy around this. I don't want to say too much because they're in captivity. It's clear there's a negotiation going on, and I don't want to, seem to add information that might jeopardize that process. But we do need to take a firm decision about that. Now, very quickly to the northern governors, we saw the southern governors came together and they met. We would have expected actually the northern governors to have been the first group to meet, given that the epicenter is situated in the north, but better late than never. Concerns around the suspension of mining for 6 months, for me personally, number one, we all know the role that mining plays and the proceeds of illegal mining plays in fueling all this insecurity that's happening beyond Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Mali, even as far as Sudan. It's gold proceeds, illegal gold mining proceeds that are fueling the procurement of arms and all other activities. These bandits put in protection fees and so forth for these illegal and artisanal miners. Banning for 6 months for an audit, for a revalidation of licenses, for me seems like a very superficial proposition when we know that the problems are deeper rooted. The Ministry of Solid Minerals has taken significant steps in dealing with this menace. There is a mining marshal's corps. It has over 2,600 officers, and they have been closing down illegal mines. They've been evacuating people. They've done so for over 400 mines. Can't we strengthen that force and see what results we can get from that, instead of creating this 6-month moratorium where it seems like we just want to remove our players and our people of interest from the scene of the crime, and then suddenly say, okay, we can mine again. It's an amnesty in colorful language, and we're not looking for an amnesty on banditry in the north at the moment or terrorism in the north. We're looking to tackle it, find the people responsible for it, and deal with them once and for all decisively.
I slightly disagree with you on this score, Vimbai, because I believe that, the stoppage of these terrorists at this point, I believe is the most crucial thing that the northern governors can do. And suspending mining for 6 months means everybody or anybody in that area should stop work, right? And then so in doing so, there won't be people in that area. There wouldn't be politicians like Governor Ubasani has alluded to, saying that they are the ones, stifling and also funding the terrorism that we see in that region, in that northern region.
If I may respond in one sentence, we know that the networks extend to Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, Benin Republic. So all they will do is they'll flee to neighboring countries. We haven't secured our borders.
Well,
once the 6 months is over, that means they'll just come. So in 6 months, they'll just come back because you haven't dealt with the fundamental issues.
I love that. But that's why there's the 1 billion Naira fund that they're going to use to secure their area. I mean, this is what I get from the meeting, which I think
it is entitled to take away different
which I think it is quite encouraging also to see. The 6-month moratorium, the 6-month period, I hope that the northern governors will use that opportunity to secure their territory, like Vimbai has suggested as well. Dr. Abati, I'd like to come to you on it before I'd like to take this story before I come to you. Talking about, politicians funding terrorism. Meanwhile, former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, has alleged that some politicians are funding terrorism in Nigeria. Irabor spoke on live television, stating that while he was Chief of Defense Staff, some trials were initiated against individuals identified as financiers of terrorism, noting that several people are being called to question over their alleged involvement. He also stated that Christians are being targeted in the country, adding that there are many individuals who are being investigated for their roles in funding terrorist activities. Let's take a look.
But the reality is that our issues in terms of security challenges are multifaceted, implying that just as you have terrorists who have an ideology, you equally have those who are bent on, targeting Christians, and there are also those who are, also targeting communities. That does not mean that some politicians, have not taken advantage of the insecurity of the state of under governance, as it were, if I may use that coinage, to want to perhaps gain some form of leverage to score the point that there is poor governance. They could also instigate certain crises in one way or the other.
So, General, for the fact Christians are being targeted.
Of course, some Christians are being targeted. No doubt about it.
For a fact, politicians are funding terror in this country.
Some politicians. Yeah. If I wouldn't want to say.
So when I say politicians, that means that there are the politicians who are funding it.
Well, this is a significant revelation from a former Chief of Defense Staff. Although he did not name specific politicians or provide details about the ongoing investigations, the allegations that politicians are funding terrorism raises serious questions about the depth of the security crisis and whether it is purely a military problem or a political one with powerful interests benefiting from the chaos. Meanwhile, the regional leader of the Church of Christ in Nations, Reverend Ezekiel Dachimo, who has consistently been outspoken about the issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria, condemned the fact that Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima are both Muslims. Speaking on live television on Monday, Dachimo called the move a complete genocide against Christians. Let's take a look.
And Shettima is a Muslim. The president is the Muslim. Is that not complete genocide to Christian in the political world? A complete genocide. They are displaying Islamic agenda. They want to control the whole country.
Dachimo there saying that the Muslim ticket is a Christian genocide. I mean, this is not a new controversy. The Muslim ticket was one of the most contentious issues of the 2023 presidential election, with many Christian leaders and groups opposing it on grounds that it violated Nigeria's unwritten principle of religious balance in governance. Reverend Dachimo's characterization of it as a complete genocide is particularly a strong language, which many may not agree with. Dr. Abati, I'd like for you to tie in both stories. First, with the Chief of Defense Staff, saying that there's an ongoing investigation on the issue of, politicians funding or those that are funding terrorism in Nigeria. And also, on the other hand, Dachimo here has, raised that controversy again about the Muslim ticket in Nigeria.
General Lucky Irabor was Chief of Defense Staff.
Yes.
And here was he in a television interview saying that some politicians, some major figures are funding terrorism. Well, It's not saying anything new. The Americans at the time, the State Department, in fact, said, terrorism in Nigeria, banditry in Nigeria was being funded by certain notable figures. And I think they collaborated with the Nigerian government. I think it was also the United Arab Emirates at the time who named some Nigerians that they said were involved in terrorism financing within the spectrum of cooperation, international cooperation to fight this challenge. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also at the time came forward and said they were trying some people, investigating some people. The question is, what happened with all those investigations? What happened with the persons who were being investigated? And then General Lucky Rabo, as CDS, being a chief of defense staff, is a major position. He has access to a lot of information. What I would have expected would have been for the former chief of defense staff to say, oh, these are some of the persons, or this was the point we reached, because Nigerians will know who are those persons. Everybody says they exist, but nobody has done anything to them. So this reign of impunity continues. Now, as for the National Security Advisor going to Kutangura to meet the Catholic Bishop of Kutangura Diocese, the proprietor of St. Mary's Primary and Secondary School, and also the parents of the affected over 300 students. I said earlier, that shows empathy. It's a reaffirmation of the fact that the Nigerian government, the Tinubu administration, has been consistent in identifying with people when they are, facing distress. And they've improved in terms of their response time. That same place, the federal government had sent a team there before, issued a statement. Now the National Security Advisor goes there and says, we will do whatever it takes to make sure that the remaining children are freed. And I think that, that is good in terms of optics, as I said earlier on. The thing to suggest is that the National Security Advisor should keep his promise, not only with the children in Niger State, in Papiri, that's where the school is located, but generally across the country, so that this environment can be safe for all of us. You talked about the Northern governors. The Northern governors have been meeting since 1955, either with education or they say they want to address poverty and all of that. And anytime they meet like that, we see it as a good gesture, good initiative. After all, their job as leaders, as government, is to defend the interests of their people. But the major concern here is that these meetings often do not yield concrete results. And we just hope that this particular meeting, this time around, by the Northern Governors Forum, will not be another talk show. They say they are creating a Northern Security Trust Fund. That Northern Security Trust Fund will have to be managed, and the management will have to be in collaboration with the existing security infrastructure. As for suspension of licenses, I said in September, Mr. Dele Alake, the Minister of Solid Minerals, already took a step in that direction. But there can be collaboration to make sure that the states work with the federal government.
Yes,
the
I
devil
like that.
is in the details.
The devil is in the details. They have to collaborate to work with the federal government with these steps that you have said that Dele Alake has put in place. But I do welcome that suspension, and hopefully those region or the mining region will be free from banditry for a bit. So good one on the Northern governors there. In another development, the People's Democratic Party has responded to Governor Ademola Adeleke's resignation from the party, stating that Adeleke remains the only cleared and screened aspirant ahead of the 2026 election, noting that no other individual purchased forms or completed the screening process. Adeleke had resigned from the party.
3 service chiefs that served in Kaduna under my watch. One of them is still alive. Farouk Yahya was chief of army staff. He was GOC in Kaduna. I saw him yesterday at a wedding. You can call him, bring him to this program and ask him what we did. What I will not do, okay, is to pay bandits, give them monthly allowance, or send food to them in the name of non-kinetic. It's nonsense. We are empowering bandits It's not the government of Kaduna State. It's a national policy driven by the Office of the National Security Advisor, and Kaduna is part of it. Many states are objecting to that, but that is the policy now. Kiss the bandits. That's the new policy. My position has always been the only repentant bandit is a dead one. Let's kill them all. Let's wipe them. Let's bomb them until they are reduced to nothing. And then the 5% that still want to be rehabilitated can be rehabilitated. You do not negotiate from a position of weakness. You don't empower your enemy. You don't give him money to go and buy more sophisticated weapons. That's why the insecurity problem has not gone away and will not go away as long as this policy continues. They can deceive, they can cover up, they can do propaganda, but those that live in Katsina, those that live in Zamfara, those that live in Kaduna, those that live in those states, they know what is happening.
Well, is that the reason why perhaps you think that there's a slowdown in the attack on schools and kidnaps that we've seen in Kaduna? The quiet we see in the Benegwari
there is no slowdown. I was governor for 8 years. I was governor of Kaduna State for 8 years. Only 3 schools were attacked in 8 years. Okay? This government has been around for 2 years. 3 schools have been attacked. And they paid the bandits. They paid them ₦1 billion the first time the school was attacked and students abducted. They are paying bandits. They are apologizing to them. They are
finding this information about ₦1 billion being paid.
Look, let the governor or anyone come and deny. We have the evidence. When the time comes, we'll reveal everything. They are paying bandits. They are empowering bandits. This is what this government is doing.
And you think that will not work?
It will not work. It has never worked anywhere in the world.
Let me tell you what happened today, where northern leaders and monarchs, we have the Northern Governors Forum and traditional rulers. Those 2 associations came together, and at that meeting, they reaffirmed their support for the swift implementation of state policing reform, describing it as a critical mechanism for tackling the security challenges bedeviling the country. According to these leaders in the north, they say Nigeria's centralized policing model can no longer meet the demands of a nation with over 200 million people with vast ungoverned spaces. The leaders also cautioned against promoting divisive and one-sided narratives that undermine national cohesion, entrench divisions, and ultimately harm collective efforts to tackle the security challenges confronting the region. Let me allow you first listen to some of the governors who spoke and some of their recommendations and solutions on the insecurity situation. Take a listen to the governors.
The centralized policing model can no longer meet the demands of a nation with over 230 million people and vast ungoverned spaces. With fewer than 400,000 police officers nationwide, many rural communities are left without meaningful protection. Your Excellencies, our region has come far. We are dismantling all obstacles and building new pathways of cooperation and development. But challenges remain. Some inherited, some imagined, some shaped by global uncertainty. What matters now is that we face them.
That have happened in several parts of the country today. But tonight, to discuss some of these issues, the man who once sat at the nerve center of Nigeria's defense architecture, retired General Lucky Irabo, a former chief of defense staff, is offering tonight critical insight into the unfolding crisis, the operational realities, and what must happen now to keep Nigerians safe. General, thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
It feels like I'm drawing you out of retirement. because our nation needs the insight and the wisdom of people like you. You may have
Thanks for watching. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to pay attention to this conversation that's about to go down right now. It's very important because the general that's about to analyze the security situation is actually the one-time chief of army staff, I guess, and he has seen it all. And the coolest part is he's not from the northern part of the country. So I definitely don't see any reason why he should push out any form of narrative, but rather he should be honest with his analysis. So let's take a listen.
been drawn and overwhelmed by the operation and the administration of the defense of Nigeria when you were in office. But now, with some months away from office, you probably have a clearer eyes to see what exactly is going on, with a benefit of you being an officer, a young officer, just coming out of the university, to you being the very #1 military officer in Nigeria. Now you perhaps know better. Let's begin the conversation by you giving us an overview. What do you think? How would you describe Nigeria's present security situation?
Well, once again, let me thank you for inviting me. I chose to agree to come this time around because I felt that there was a need for clarity. So when you mounted the pressure for me to please come, I had no choice but to think twice.
But thank you so much. That's why I say it's as if I dragged you out of retirement.
Yes, you did.
Thank you so much.
Having said that, you recall that the last time we met here was to discuss the book that I wrote. And I hate to say that it appears that my inclinations, or if you like, my instincts for writing that book have been vindicated. It's sad to say it, but that's the reality. Because having gone through the experiences that I had, I felt that so many things, were not getting right. And it's becoming more complex by the narratives that you find from all quarters. And so, at the time, of course, I did mention, which is also reflected in my book, that the whole essence of the book was to kickstart a conversation. My joy today is that that conversation has started, and then a few steps are already been taken, which is in the positive direction. But of course, there are others which do not need to come to the public glare, which need to be strengthened as we go forward. So I'm delighted that, I believe that in no distant future, we should see a clearer direction and, of course, a greater hope, for safety and security of our people. By the way, let me also use the opportunity to condole with those who lost their lives, and then even those who are still in captivity, and then, of course, to the very hardworking officer and gentleman, talking about Brigadier General Musa, who, of course, paid the supreme price, as we all know. This precisely is what I believe the conversation that is already on now is what I believe that will eventually lead to what must be done. I believe that in the course of our interaction tonight, a few snippets will also come out, in my view.
So I'm imagining, so there's a spike and it's spiraling. Are you worried about what could have caused it? Do you, in some way, have been able to identify what has characterized the spiral effect or the spike in the rise of the spate of attacks that we have seen frequently? One seems to get so tired hearing that there's another abduction, there is another killing, there's another attack, the military is doing this, but you hear these stories and it's happening in different parts of the country. How would you describe this incident? It's just happening every day.
So if we have to unbundle, the occurrences, we realize that some are from socio-political angle, others are imposed by external factors, and a few others have to also do with, the internal crisis that we have, that we've always had. But sadly, many of them have resulted to deaths. Many of them have also resulted in a greater number of abductions and so on and so forth. So that's the sad part of it. But then what must be kept in mind is that not only that the government is not sleeping, of course, through the instrumentality of the security agencies, but that, you know, there are issues that that those who are at the forefront of addressing these issues that they needed to bring to the attention of the political strategic level, which actually informs the reason why I believe that the discussions that you are now having, you know, amongst the various leaders from different regions of the country is coming, you know, to the front burner. In addition to that, of course, is the fact that, you know, the division that has attended to our political engagement since time of independence has actually not left us. And that's why I'm a little bit worried that even when there are discussions that are on now, what you still find is talking about South and North. Nobody is talking about Nigeria as a sovereign entity. Even though, of course, we can't do politics without, you know, all those regional, you know, affiliations. After all, Nigeria is a federal republic, so there are federating entities. But then I should think that rather than talking about the security of the North, the security of the South, we should be talking about the security of the country. Yeah. Because if we don't have that, you know, that mindset, then we'll be widening the gorge, you know, between the various regions in the country. So by and large, I'm hopeful that you know, quite a lot, you know, will come out of these conversations.
So let me take you to a tactical or a strategic analysis of what is happening.
Correct.
Would you say that the escalation we see in killings and the abduction is a sign of new threats or failures of existing systems?
Okay, now, first and foremost, over the years, we have had governance failures. And so leading to...
And it's across levels.
Across levels.
Federal, state, and
local government.
And sometimes we don't have any.
Any at all. In fact, my experience, especially from the Northeast, especially in Borno State, gave me an indication to this. And of course, when I got also exposed to the issues in the Northwest, it was quite mind-blowing for me, wherein some local governments have no representation of governance. So sometimes you see that all this local government is just by name. And so you don't have local government officials at that level to mitigate crises.
So no water,
problems.
no road,
completely
nothing that makes any human being function.
Completely absent. And so, meaning that over a long period of time, we have neglected, we are actually perhaps taking the people for granted. And I think that is something that everybody in Nigeria must understand and come to grips with. Not to apportion blame, not to point fingers, because pointing fingers will certainly not solve a problem. But then for you to know the problem, because a problem that you do not know is a problem you can never solve. So if you have that at the back of your mind, the next question to ask is, what then do we do? And then getting to know what you would do is to now begin to talk about what resources that are necessary to be able to do that. So for me, it's failure of governance over a long period. Now, because even what we also term as religious crises, what we also term as, you know, tribal and ethnic crises, is also a result of, you know, governance failures. So it's the aggregate of all this that has given rise to it. And then, of course, with the, economic crisis, economic situation that we find ourselves currently, has also made it, such that people now look for different avenues to eke out a living, and some have taken up, the criminal enterprise as a means of meeting that need. So a mix of factors, if you like, has given rise to this.
So you don't think that we have emerging or new threats? This is an existential failure of systems in terms of political governance in the country.
Certainly,
that is what we are seeing.
Certainly, it is. But then you must also know there is conflict transformation. Threats do transform, because, just as you have in the newer technologies, this same way that even social thoughts, if you like, social interactions transform, and then what manifests is what you now begin to see. But the underlying issue is the fact that it's governance failures over a period, because you can't use 1960 tools to address, the 21st century tools.
But if you look at it, in all its DNA, what you're seeing, because for someone who has traversed training to tactical, to operational, to strategic and administration, correct, you can see and smell whatever you see any violence, and you can be able to dissect and analyze what the DNA and the objectives and the intent of those who are backing it, what they are up to.
Correct.
So it's not, it might be morphing into from something to other thing. But what we are seeing today, there is no new, nothing really new about it.
Certainly there is nothing
so from
new.
the pattern that we see.
There is nothing new. What perhaps one may assume that it is new is the fact that there are external dimensions. Why? There is no man whatsoever. There's no geographic entity that lives in our land. I mean, we live in a global village. So events and occurrences in other parts of the globe, and not to talk about the sub-region, have implications for our own environment. So that also has a dimension. It has always existed anyway. But the point is, because there are newer ways of, or if you like, call it newer tools available to these criminal elements, that is the reason why not only did the number increase, but the certification for the violence that they unleash on the people have also changed.
Do you smell a rat, though, that all of a sudden, we were not having every day, we have all these pockets of violence, but now it is every day.
No. It would be wrong to think that it's every day, or that we have never had it. Don't forget that this, especially for Boko Haram, when it started, don't forget that we've had issues of this nature. Don't forget that at some point it was like it was not going to end. So why it will appear now that it's sudden is the fact that over a long period we thought that we're on the winning streak, where the violence of the level of violence appeared to be ebbing. But suddenly, we now find that where it's like we have reversed all the gains that we have made. That's why it's so worrisome that why, and that's also why I must also understand the opinion of some people believing that there is a failure on the part of those who have been handling this. To say no, it's not a failure, but rather that somehow that's what it is. That these problems, if you don't remain consistent in terms of the approach, both strategic and operational plans that you have, if you don't remain consistent on it, also be forecasting what the future holds, you are likely to run into this kind of problem.
So, I mean, there are a few abductions, terrorist attack, but it does look that the bandits they found their way in the southern. They're moving southwards in the middle belt, in the north central part of the country, and you see their movement. It tends to look like they are now moving towards Ekiti, Osun, and the Kogi axis, because they are now in the Kwara, in the southern part of Kwara, the Felodun, the Ekiti, Repodun area, and towards the Yagba area axis of Kogi, moving southwards. It tells you something. When you see that kind of pattern, and you draw the map, and you look at it on the board, and you look at how these patterns are growing, and these incidents are happening, what does it tell you? What story can you be able to extract from it?
Okay, first and foremost, let's understand that Boko Haram, let's take Boko Haram as the basis of our analysis. Boko Haram came up with an ideology. Boko Haram has not been extinguished. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Boko Haram still exists. And at some point, when a hit was on them, they broke away from the northeast and made inroads into the northwest, and had some form of, handshake with the bandits. And that's why you began to see elements of terrorism in the northwest. So not only do you have banditry in the northwest, you equally have elements of terrorism, which also transformed to, at some point, Lakurawa, that you no longer hear of. And then, of course, you now hear of Wulu Wulu, and so on and so forth. So you must not discount the fact that Boko Haram and the ideology of Boko Haram, as well as ISWAP, has not left us. It has not left us. It's all part and parcel of what now manifests within the environment. So you must keep that in context. You must also keep in context the fact that there are other criminal elements. The bandits. You must also understand that there are kidnappers, those who kidnap for ransom, who are purely, economic criminals, as it were, who are also within this environment. But what you must also keep in mind is the fact that criminals, whether they are terrorists or whether they have an ideology or not, there is a common denominator. And so for someone who is more interested in the economic benefits, if he decides to have an interaction, if you like, a network with the terrorists, all that he'll be interested in is the fact that he's able to meet his economic demands, as it were. And so a mixture of it, that's the reason why the threats that we have is a little bit complex. And that's why we think that, an approach that takes into consideration a total understanding of the nuances will be what should do, rather than this hype within the social media, lumping everything together, not allowing those who are handling the issues to have a breathing space to be able to know know what to do. And even when the public is being briefed, this mistrust that I've attended to how we view governance as it were, or if you like government agencies, has also not helped matters. And so the issues are escalated in the social media in the wrong direction.
There are those security experts who say you can figure out in a way the intent of a criminal or a violent person by their targets.
Correct.
And you look at the targets of recent, and there are those who say, okay, let's take, and you have said that we cannot take away the external influence of what we're seeing altogether.
Correct.
For example, Mr. Donald Trump, who had said they will come to Nigeria gun blazing, and that they will, based on what they are reading, that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria. And then you see attacks on churches. Churches are not the only ones that are being attacked, but abduction of priests in churches, abduction of traditional rulers, there are people who have been killed in Kebbi, abducted in school and all whatnot. Is there a possibility of a link that these terrorists or these bandits are listening to the political dimension? And I've spoken to politicians on this program who have said, look, Sheung, forget it. This is political. All what we're seeing in the last few weeks or so is politically driven. What do you make of those debates?
Well, somehow you can't hold people for their views. But the reality is that our issues, or in terms of security challenges, are multifaceted, implying that just as you have terrorists who have an ideology, you equally have those who are bent on, targeting Christians, and there are also those who are, also targeting communities. That is, desiring to, displace communities and wanting to stay in those communities to be able to have a voice, or perhaps that could be their bargaining chip, as it were. For whatever reason, there are different reasons. There are those who are also regarded as economic criminals and so on and so forth. So if you now just assume, or if you like, lump the entire thing to be one of those strands, then of course that would be, the analysis would be wrong. And those who also say it's political is also, again, that will be lumping all the issues to assume that all the other issues, do not matter. It's just for you to heap it at the back of the politicians. That's also not correct. That does not mean that some politicians have not taken advantage of the insecurity, or if you like, the state of under governance, as it were, if I may use that coinage, to want to perhaps gain some form of leverage, to give impression that they can do better. Others perhaps want to give impression that, look, to score the point that there is poor governance, they could also instigate certain crises in one way or the other. So those who believe that it's purely political may be, assuming their argument, maybe having the argument from that angle. But then, for me, as as a security, person, and who, of course, has seen it all. I mean, it would be wrong for anyone.
So, General, for the fact Christians are being targeted.
Of course, some Christians are being targeted. There's no doubt about it.
For the fact politicians are funding terror in this country.
Some politicians.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't want to say.
I mean, so when I say politicians, that means that there are the politicians who are funding it.
Of course.
But why has it been difficult for us to be able to know the names?
You hear them?
Why is it strategic? Is it intelligence? Or why has it been difficult for names to be named?
Well, this is not what I should come here to begin to discuss. More so that I know I'm no longer in active service, but I believe that there are a lot of individuals who are being called to question. You also recall that even whilst I was there were some trials that were made, especially for the financiers and so on and so forth. So it's not for public consumption. It's what I think we should do at this point is to give support and trust those who have been charged with such responsibilities that they will do what is right. And I think that it's our responsibility to also encourage those who are on the fence to begin to reason that. For them to know that not everybody in government is a criminal. Not everybody in government is a liar. Not everybody in government is unserious. That there are a good number of Nigerians who have the heart of delivering the mandate for which they have been appointed and the mandate for which they have been elected.
Yeah, Nigerians can be very certain that our conversation is going to be operation strategic and, of course, in some way progressive, in the sense that we want solutions.
Correct.
And I'll be bringing perspective of these governors and monarchs, what they're saying, and whether or not it meets some of what you think could work. But before we go on that break, I will break down our operational assessment into 4 areas. And I'd like you to tell me which is our biggest gap here. Intelligence, manpower, equipment, and coordination. These are areas I imagine, in my mind, and you are the expert here, that could help us to be able to win any kind of war. Intelligence, you need it. Manpower, very necessary. You need to train. You need to have the necessary and the required number of boots on the ground. The equipment, you need the wherewithal to be able to do it. Coordination is another thing because you have different arms of it. Which of these 4 areas do you think is a gap or the biggest gap?
Okay, there are gaps in all, but at different degrees. And I don't know how much time we have to be able to disaggregate.
Where do you think the one with the big that you fear the most has the biggest?
So I have my greatest challenge will be the manpower and equipment.
We are lacking.
That we need to do better. That we need to do better. But again, I also believe that the public does not need to know the manpower and equipment disposition. For me, discussing it is important to indicate that there are gaps. And I've also mentioned that there are gaps in the 4 areas. But then the level of gap differ from one level to the other. But then the greatest of them all has to do with manpower and equipment.
So,
and the manpower and equipment,
I'm also going to need.
I believe that
I will need
the
Thomas
conversation that is
Lakoro.
ongoing now must be
Is
properly
he sitting in this chair? If he's sitting, there is no need to bring him. I can just go there.
But
if not,
a generalized discussion.
You know
because
Thomas.
After
Thomas Lakoro,
then there has to be
a
closed door interaction, wherein the details of these gaps cannot be given, and what is required, and can also be discussed in greater detail.
Let me finish this.
That there are issues, both with intelligence, with manpower, with equipment, and then coordination. And let me talking about coordination. Coordination does not necessarily mean that the security agencies are not speaking to each other. But it's the fact that there has been a lot of mix-up.
Oh boy.
I, as an individual, even whilst in active service, I believe that creating multiple agencies is not the solution to it. Where we have
Now the
issues,
last one I carry
police,
for
for
my
example, the Nigerian police force, all right,
Sure.
has
Wahala.
serious policing issues, serious problems, capacity gaps.
Ooh.
Now, you, instead of addressing what those gaps are, properly assessing them, assessing the police, and then identify the gaps, and then closing up those gaps, you think that it is by creating other agencies that will fill the vacuum. That is a wrong approach.
You done?
Today,
Good job.
even though the
All right,
law
let's
has
do
been
you,
passed for forest guards, I, as an individual, think that is a mistake that we have made. Because the disease that has killed the police, which has also killed the Nigerian security and civil defense, is also going to kill that establishment. Why? Because we have not done a thorough analysis of where these issues are. And if care is not taken, is also what is going to kill our military. Because we are not taking time to listen, to understand what these problems are, and then solve them. Each time people keep talking about money, so much money has been released, so much budget, I said, look, you get it wrong. The volume is not does not equate to efficiency. The volume of money that you spent last year to perhaps feed 10 people certainly cannot be the same volume you are going to you are using this year. And it might not be what you're going to do. Because after all, last year, what was the cost of a bag of rice? So it is from that context that you do not use volume of cash in terms of the size of the budget to determine what effort has been made in any area, even though it is important. But that shouldn't be this single index of analysis. There has to be other things that you must aggregate into the equation.
Yeah, give me a moment, General. We need to go on a break. But when we return, solution. This is what this conversation tonight is all about.
Something with
and
another
may have
hand.
invoked the general out of retirement, but he's here for the nation. And I hope those who are in power are listening, and those who will take the necessary action are also listening.
Don't listen to that girl.
When we come back from the break, everyone, our conversation is finding a lasting solution. We'll be right back.
She's very wrong,
General
right?
Lucky Rabo.
You smile handsomely, bro. All right.
Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. We have the privilege of speaking with our former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo. And he's speaking with us on the solutions to Nigeria's insecurity situation, which we're saying that critically things are spiraling and people are working. But at the fifth columnist, or what exactly is going on? And he's mentioned what could be the gaps. But I'm worried, though, the repentant terrorists and people who had picked O's in that strategy of recruiting, because there are those who feel that the repentant terrorists were being recruited into the army.
Well, Shehu, I'm glad that you mentioned this. It has always been a burden for me where we got this impression from.
Were they ever recruited?
How can they be? Does not exist. Before I became CDS, I was theater commander, Operation Lafia Dole. From there, I crossed over to become Force Commander, Multinational Agent Task Force. When I left, I became the Chief of Defense Training and Operations. I was overseeing all that, and then I became Trader Commander, and I got appointed as the CDS, which I spent 2.5 years in that post. How could it be? Where people got that impression from, I cannot tell. Now, but we have Operation Safe Corridor, which I supported, which I will support today, and I'll continue to support even tomorrow. What is Operation Safe Corridor? What does it entail? It is looking at those that have been arrested, engaged in the act of terrorism and banditry, that are profiled. And so the low risk amongst them, meaning that those who were conscripted into that criminal enterprise, and those perhaps who got themselves caught up in the milieu of the criminality.
That's what I have to do.
Are now separated.
Why did you have
and
to
then
do this?
sent
Check
to
it out.
the camp
Why
where
you
they are
treat him like that?
de-radicalized. all right, over a period. It's like somebody
Jeez,
also
you don't
in a
want him to
correctional
dip his hand
facility
into down there?
where, certain teachings are brought
You
to
don't
them
want
and
him
then
to
some
do his
skills
thing?
are also given to them
You're so wrong,
before
Amanda.
allowing them
You are
to be
denying my brother.
reintegrated into the society.
You deny
On
my
what
man
grounds would there be people talking about?
No,
his
because
access to
there are words
paradise.
out there that some of them found their
Don't do
way
that, girl.
How can they find their way into the military when first and foremost their biometrics were taken, the records of them, and not only were the biometrics taken, there is none of those services, especially, let me speak for the military. Army, Navy, and Air Force, each time they are recruiting, you have recruitment officers in every of the states who go with those data, and they are meant to scrutinize them.
So, structurally, within the military,
yes,
it's almost impossible for some of these elements to find their way in the military.
It is impossible. And besides, you can't come into the military if those from your local government have not actually sanctioned you, that is, guarantee.
It's fit enough.
Yeah, not just, consider, because
like a surety.
A surety, a guarantor.
Mm-hmm.
It is the responsibility of the local government, that do that. So if you've been involved, all right, let's assume that our filtration process does not capture it. But the point is, at that local government level, which is even a
you might be found out. But there are those who feared the fifth columnist effect, and that those who are, a lot of the times, what has happened where officers, gallant officers who were waylaid and killed, were those who are leaked information. Some of them are arrested and prosecuted within the military system.
That is very true. One thing you must also realize is that our soldiers, we have soldiers from the 774 local governments of the
The mom say he needs glasses.
to
read what?
There is no state that is not represented in any service, and even in our operations. All right. Now you cannot also vouch for the behavior of individual soldiers. That is the reason why
Amanda,
in the military we have both the military intelligence. We equally have the military police. Now, why will you have military police within the military? It is to police to the same way what policing function does for civil policing. It's what military police does for the military, meaning that there are those who keep eye on the behaviors and the day-to-day activity. That is the reason why you find that we dismiss people. You find that we court-martial, that the military, they court-martial, sometimes even, sentence them to death.
As 1 hour.
It is because of things like this. In any case, fifth columnists,
saboteurs,
rogue elements, it is not new.
Good
it has always been part and parcel of this. So when you
that's what you're gonna be
one
doing.
or two along that line, that does not equate to mean that is an institutional behavior.
Quickly, General, let me ask you, why has technology been somewhat absent? Satellite capabilities, even with a lot of money, and you say that volume is not people will say, a lot of money has been, we don't have what it takes to fight it. No technology, why are there no drones? We're supposed to have the intelligence and technology to be able to see ahead of this. Why is this gap looks very deep?
Okay, now, when you see people talk out of ignorance, you can't be first and foremost, I hope you know that I studied, I studied electrical electronics engineering in the university. Now, so when you're talking about technology, it cannot, somebody like me, for example, and there are a good number of us, you can't be thinking that we have no knowledge of how to employ technology. But then you must also talk about the cost-benefit analysis of deployment of technology. The deployment of technology is not by word of mouth. Can you afford it? And the ones you need to afford, all right, what is the number relative to the requirement, the needs? This is the issue. This is the discussion that... So when people say they are not deploying technology, indeed, it was even just because we wanted to deploy technology that we began to even use, long ago, Phantom, all these little drones just to see your front, amongst the other, just because that was what we could afford. And then later on, of course, there were requirement, we were able to acquire a few drones. We even had to develop indigenous drones by the Air Force, by the Army, all in a way to deploy technology. But the point is, when people talk about satellite, is it the military that is going to launch satellite? What resources do they have? Resources to even buy equipment, they have not. We've not even talk about it in the right quantity and number that we're talking about. We've not even done that. We're talking about, you know what it means to launch a satellite, and then not just satellite, because communication satellite that we have, which NISCOMSAT has, it's not for.
How do you see the new star?
Talking about technology that will give you 24/7 surveillance.
Instant.
How do you see the new method?
Instantaneous.
Yeah.
All right.
That
gives
the method of
the
handling this guy. Don't you see that everything is done?
Situational awareness, as it were.
You don't see everything is done almost at the same time.
And across the entire space of the geographical space of Nigeria. So these are the issues.
Yeah, give me a moment, but we'll conclude on what those governors said when we come back from this break.
Yes.
All right.
Just remain.
Thank you. He's done. Have a good night, Aiden.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow, bro.
Thank you. We're having a lot of
Don't look at that lady's face.
I'm learning quite a lot. I mean, it looks like I'm in the school of security right now, but let's conclude the conversation now around this. You heard what the governors are saying, the monitor, and the fundamental question: we're too big for how also have a centralized system. Do you agree with that?
No, of course. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's not common to us. All right, there are other climes. If you go to the UK, if you even go to the US, you have district police, you have state police and all that. So there's nothing wrong with it. For me, it's not about whether it's state police or centralized police, but it's actually capacity. You'll be able to have them properly trained, properly kitted, equipped.
The last man
do what is right, and then of course,
hey, last man, come back
here.
Train them,
with and imbue in them a moral setting for them to know that it's policing task. It has nothing to do with partisan, political, tax that take. So I agree for the issue of state policing. Yes, of course, I think it's but not just to have the state police, but it must be.
We need to break down the security so that it's not only at the center and the local area.
Very essential.
Now authorities can take charge. But I mean, there are those who are saying that the forest guard, which you mentioned earlier, is an old phenomenon.
Correct.
Only that this government and this administration just are working it and trying to rejig it and equip more people. But your own argument is that we need to solve one problem and not using another thing to, run away.
Yes, I'm aware that, forest guard will have always existed, even during the colonial times.
Yeah.
All right, we used to have forest guards. But my argument actually is that it is not because we don't have problem. At that time, when
take your drink.
civil defense,
Let's go.
Finish it. Those who agitated for civil defense to come up. The impression given was that even the forest and our so-called infrastructure were where they are going to address. Has that been addressed? So because there is a gap now, you now think that you should revive what was existing. If tomorrow they fail, you think now we'll think of another. So this is the point.
A good night.
I'm saying that the established agencies that we have, they are sufficient to address the issues, but they need to, solve their problem,
fix
and
it so that it can work
so that they
properly.
can be effective as it
General,
can
we need to close now, but I will plead with you for something. You are not on the hot seat because you are not in service. But those guys who are there right now, they are on the hot seat every day, operational and administrative issues. The CNC is not a military man. He's not trained in this case. But if you have one thing to advise him tonight, as a commander-in-chief, and you've had opportunity to be in charge of the soldiers on the ground, and you know what it means for you to have a coordinated, very instructive and strategic instruction from the CNC. You know what this means. If you have to tell the president one thing tonight, in the midst of all of these skills, what would that be?
Well, first and foremost, there's something which the president has done which is gladdening to me, and which I mentioned some time ago, which has to do with declaration of state of emergency. Now, he has declared emergency on security, so it's not necessarily a state of emergency, but then the will to be able to implement the totality of that pronouncement is key. And what is it? There must be, a behind-the-scene discussion with some stakeholders to be able to disaggregate that statement and then to be able to give effect to it. So for me, is the first step. I believe that he may have been doing it, but then if that has not been done, I think that that's an area to look at. Yeah.
General Lucky Rabo, retired military officer and the former
pacifying them without taking actions, knowing that what they're doing is wrong.
Let me see if I can find Nigerian map for defense minister's role. Terrorists, because we don't want them to use innocent civilians as a shield. Bro, you are chief security advisor. When you make statement like that, you are actually telling the bandits what to do. You are literally saying to them, hey, if you don't want us to attack you, make sure you have civilians around you. Build a wall around you with these innocent civilians, so that way the government cannot attack you. I'm sorry, Mr. Chief Security Advisor, that's the message you're passing across. So let me get your take in the chat real quick. Uncle Dayo is in the building. Uncle Dayo, how are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, good evening, Uncle Beno. Good evening, Real Farm. So good to be here again.
Good
I
evening,
really
Uncle
appreciate
Dayo.
being here.
Yeah, so Uncle Dayo, I don't know if you have been following the segment I'm covering on this political roundtable. That statement they make all the time. We know who they are, we know where they are. Sir, what do you make of that statement? Is that like comforting or reassuring, or what exactly does that mean, sir?
Uncle Beno, let me tell you the way it is. When people that are saying that, the very next person standing next to them in that same room or in that same space is one of the people sponsoring this so-called terrorists. And they are there around them. They know them, that this man standing next to me is one of the sponsors. That one sitting across the table over there is one of them. That one on that high altar there is one of them. So when they are saying we know who they are, they know them, because they are there with them inside the same government, inside the same office, inside the same places. So what can they do? They can only say they know them, but they can't do anything to them because they are their colleagues. They are their friends.
So that's more or less like an admission of defeat?
That's much more like an admission of collaboration. Because they cannot do anything to them.
That's how it sounds to me. That's how it sounds to me. Continue, sir.
So basically, whenever they are saying that, they are only saying it just because that's what people expect them to say. Because if people that are not within that cabinet, people that are not within their space, knows these people, and many of them have been fingered.
But I do welcome that suspension.
With good reports. Many of them have been fingered before, and they have not come out to debunk it. None of them has debunked it yet. That means they have been exposed. They know those that have been exposed, and they know those that are still hiding. But whatever it is, they themselves, they know exactly who are the people behind all these issues. But they cannot touch them because they are their colleague.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me take some comment real quick. Shout out to Saved by Grace. How you doing? Saved by Grace said, what a shameful country. I wonder to myself. Shout out to Olumide. Olumide said, these northern governors are just jokers. 1 billion security trust fund. For what, may I ask? I don't know. Uncle Dayo, help me address this real quick. 1 billion security trust fund. For what exactly, sir? Do you have any idea what these northern governors meant by that?
Uncle Beno, 1 billion security funds, maybe they are just making it open. How much they are collecting monthly for the past how many years? If it's not up to that, it will not be far from that already, or even more than that monthly, that they have been voting for themselves. And now look at the funniest part of it. This money does not have any account. There's nothing like nobody's monitoring how you are going to spend it. They just vote it, and how you spend it is up to you as a governor. So all of them have it every month, and then depending on the security risk in their state, determines how much they are being given. It's an accountless account, so to say. So they are making money from it. But what do they want to do with 1 billion naira monthly for security? Are they buying guns and ammunition? Do they want to buy airplanes? Do they want to buy jet fighters or what? I don't understand. When I saw it, I was like, what? Okay, now, if they have said they want to use it to rehabilitate IDPs, every family, every villages that have been burned down, they want to understand. But trust me, sir, once that money comes, you will not see anything that they will do with it. It's that bad. They are just fighting for their own pockets.
Exactly. Shout out to my lovely sister Peanut. How you doing, man? Anthony, what's up, man? Anthony said Tinubu is selecting chronics for his own interest. It looks like that, bro. My beautiful sister Mary said they are one and the same people, just as we suspected. Exactly, my sister. It's crazy. So Anthony said, bullshit. Oh God, this is our real farm community. You guys always make me laugh, even when I don't want to laugh. Anthony said, bullshit. Tinubu has been operating Nigeria as a criminal organization. He needs to be removed from office. Out with those kind of leadership. Well, that's a suggestion, but I don't think removing Tinubu is the solution to what we are facing right now. Mary said, I only pray that they are not bringing the retired general to set him up and buy him. Honestly, I fear for him as well. He knows a lot. Absolutely. Let me start this one because I will come back to this shortly. Canary, what's up? Where have you been, man? Canary says, so they can share the money. Oh, my brother. Why are you so dishonest now? May we never reveal their secret, Baba. But shout out to you, my brother. You're welcome. All right, let's move on real quick. I quickly want to go to the main topic of the day, which is the appointment of CG Musa, which to me, I think Tinubu is ready to fight terrorists in Nigeria with this appointment. But where do we go from here? I'll be right back just in a second.
You are watching Political Roundtable with UB. Like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments.
All right. I believe you would have heard the news already that Tinubu has nominated Christopher Musa for defense minister's role. And honestly, it seems like this is a welcome development. So first off, we should ask ourselves, who is this defense minister and why it seems like Tinubu is finally calling the shots? So let me briefly introduce you to this amazing officer. So according to the Punch newspaper, President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday nominated former Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, as the new Minister of Defense following the resignation of Alhaji Mohammed Badaru on Monday due to health reasons. I really don't believe that health reason. That dude had no clue, no reason whatsoever to have been the the Minister of Defense in the first place. So those are some of the appointments made by President Tinubu that are somehow questionable. So that resignation due to health reason, no, I think that is BS. But let's continue. According to the Punch, here are some things to know about CG Musa. Musa, born on December 25th, 1967, is 58 years old. He graduated from the Nigerian Defense Academy in 1991 with a Bachelor of Science degree after earlier attending the College of Advanced Studies, Zaria, in 1986 and completing his primary and secondary education in Sokoto before that year. He served as the 18th Defense as the 18th Chief of Defense Staff from June 2023 to October 2025, where he oversaw integrated operations across all branches of the armed forces. Before then, he was commander of the Nigerian Army Infantry Corps between 2022 and 2023, directing infantry training and development. From 2021 to 2022, Musa was the theater commander of Operation Hadinkai in northern Nigeria, leading counter-terrorism operations against Boko Haram. Prior to that, he commanded Sector 3 of the Multinational Joint Task Force in the Lake Chad region from 2019 to 2021, coordinating joint military efforts with neighboring countries. During the same period, he also served as commander of Sector 3, Operation Lafia Dole, overseeing sector-level counter-insurgency operations. In 2019, Musa served as Deputy Chief of Staff, Training and Operations at the Headquarters Infantry Center and Corps. Before 2019, he had held several strategic positions, including infantry representative on the training team at the Army Armor Corps headquarters, assistant director of operations requirement at Army headquarters, commanding officer of 73 Battalion, and general staff officer 1, training and operations at 81 Division. Commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1991, Musa began his military career in infantry roles that formed the foundation of his later leadership appointment. He is also a recipient of several honors, including the Kolipoe Award for Soldiering 2012 in recognition of outstanding military leadership. Musa's nomination comes as the federal government seeks continuity in defense leadership following Badaru's exit. Now, that's, I think, some of the background information we need to know about Musa. Now, talking about him, leading operations against Boko Haram at the Sahel region. In case you don't know the Sahel region, you would have heard about Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, as well as the two other presidents who are fighting terrorist insurgency in the northern part of Nigeria, in the neighboring country of Nigeria. But first, this particularly caught my attention. While he was leading the fight against terrorism at the northern border, CG Musa made this suggestion that was completely ignored by all the presidents, especially Muhammadu Buhari and Tinubu himself. And he made this suggestion after overseeing the fight against Boko Haram, have realized that these folks, the more Traore and the other two presidents from Chad and Niger were chasing terrorists, the terrorists are pouring into every corner of the northern part of Nigeria. Go and look at Nigeria map and you would understand what this man is saying. So this was his recommendation at that time, but was completely ignored. Take a listen, please.
Border management is very critical. I've had countries, because of the level of insecurity they had to fence their borders. I know sometimes when you mention, people say, no, it's not, it's impossible. Pakistan fenced 1,350 kilometer border with Afghanistan. That was the only time they had peace. Saudi Arabia and Iraq, 1,400 kilometers fenced completely. Can we start thinking of fencing our borders? We have 1,500 kilometers with Niger Republic, 1,900 kilometers with Cameroon. Chad is there. All over us, surrounded by Francophone countries, and the Sahel is heating up. If we don't do anything, when the Sahel falls, it is Nigeria that everybody is interested in, because they believe Nigeria is huge, Nigeria is big, Nigeria is rich. And that is what we should start thinking about. How do we secure fully and take control of our borders? It is critical for our survival. It is critical for our sovereignty.
Now, there you heard it. I don't know if you really understand what he's talking about, but let me make it make sense a little bit for us. You see, if you look at the Nigerian map, Nigeria is bordered by Niger majorly, from Sokoto to the state before Borno. We share border with Niger. Let me see if I can find Nigerian map real quick and show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Again, remember, my people, we don't do these shows just to cash cruise. We do it to educate our people and to spark reasonable conversations that can lead to great recommendations. So please, we are not just running our mouths over here. We are into serious conversation. So I don't know if you can see my screen right now. Uncle Dayo, can you see the screen? If you're watching, please let me know. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen, but there's nothing showing there apart from you and I and your table. Okay, it has come. I can see Nigeria map now.
Uncle Dayo. Okay, so let me expand this so everybody can see it. All right. Yeah. Okay, so this is the map of Nigeria, and I'm sharing this for you to know why I'm taking the CG seriously. Now, if you look at Nigeria map right here, up here we have Sokoto, Kano, Maiduguri. Now, I need you to look at Niger at the top. So, if you look at Niger, you're going to see that we share larger part of the northern region of Nigeria with Niger Republic. And if this border here is so porous that terrorists, bandits can easily come into Nigeria and also exit, does that not indicate that we have bigger issues on our hands? I don't know if you guys are following what I'm saying right now. Does that not indicate we have bigger issue on our hands? Because if we have border, as suggested by General Musa, if we fence from all the way from Maiduguri, if we fence our border going all the way down to Sokoto, come down to this Niamey, then first off, coming into Nigeria is going to be difficult for the terrorists. Because even if they don't want to come directly via the border, it means they have to find a loophole to come into the country. Now, if these terrorists realizes that there is a border, that if they cross into Nigeria and the military is repelling them, it's still going to be difficult for them to go back to where they came from, then they will have to think twice before coming into the country. So that's what the general is suggesting over there. So I think for a man who have been on the battlefront and who have been monitoring this Boko Haram insurgents for the very longest time, definitely he has the experience and he has the technical know-how to fight this insurgency. And appointing him as a minister is a step in the right direction. Now, this, of course, may be coming too late, but I believe, okay, maybe we can start saying we are ready to at least take charge of our own security. And so I'm only agree with President Tinubu with this appointment because this is the only appointment to me so far that makes sense. Every other appointment, I can say like almost 70% of President Tinubu appointment since he came into office is more or less like political connection kind of paddy thing. But appointing this CG Musa seems to be a step in the right direction. Another angle to the appointment of CG Musa is the fact that he is a Christian. And I'm saying this for a reason. All the ministers, the defense ministers, as well as majority of the top military cadre we have in Nigeria, our commanders, the majority of them are Northerners. And it's going to be difficult for them to say, hey, let's go bomb our brothers. We pray together. We do almost everything together. It's going to be difficult for them. But now appointing a Christian in this battle, that brings a new dimension into this ongoing banditry and insecurity situation we have in the country. However, this is where I want to bring you in real quick, Uncle Dayo. Sister Natu made a very valid contribution here. Sister Natu said, they still won't let Musa work. That is the issue. Uncle Dayo, what are your take on this one, sir?
Uncle Beno, I think I may have to agree with Sister Natu, but there's something that I'm seeing of late, which I believe that Tinubu will have to create the ambience for him to be able to work. Let me explain. Up until now, Tinubu did not take any action over this matter, but now that he has not decided to be taking actions, he's now realizing that it's either he take action now or he will go into oblivion and he will lose his reputation and then lose his respect and lose everything that is trying to preserve. So now he wants to make things work. Now he does not care whose toes will be stepped upon. I can see that finally, right? Yes, I can see that he has finally woken up and say, oh boy, if I don't do something now, there may not be 2027 for me again. And what they have been arguing over his head was that if you don't do what you say, there will be no 2027 for you. That they will not support him for the second time. But now he realized that instead of him to be bowing down to all their requests and to be kind of pacifying them without taking actions, knowing that what they're doing is wrong, he rather stand up and be counted. Whether they vote for him or whether they support him or not, let him do the right thing. So, and that's what he's doing now. Appointing this man now, we all know what is happening within our military realm. We know that they have been infiltrated, and we know that we have people among them that are reporting back to this, that are sympathetic to these bandits and to all these terrorists. So that's why they have been so weak and they could not perform. But this man being in the system before, understanding the terrain, now coming back as a minister, I think he has an edge. Now, I just pray that he has a good collaboration with the Chief of Defense Staff and all of the other people that are still in the military. Once they can have a synergy, they can be able to work perfectly and do something that will liberate Nigeria from all these bandits. However, it's not going to be an easy task because there will still be betrayals, there will still be bottlenecks, there will still be bureaucratic red tapeism going on among them, among the rank and files, just to frustrate him. But he knows what he has signed up for, and I know he's going to deliver.
Thank you very much for that take, Uncle Dayo. That's a very, very valid point you raised right there. And this brings me to something I feared the most about our efforts and fight against insecurity in Nigeria. The militaries appears to have been compromised. The military appears to have been compromised. I've said on several occasions on our show here that growing up in Nigeria military that I know used to be the best in Africa, if not one of the best. In fact, you can hardly identify two nations that had better security or had better military forces than Nigeria in Africa. What baffles me was how they were able to render the Nigerian military useless. And I blame the politicians for it. I blame the current and past crop of military leaders for that. The military we knew growing up, we never compromised their integrity. Integrity used to be everything to our military officers. Yes, we may have one or two who probably can take bribe or do some stupid shit, but they usually flush them out. But under President Muhammad Buhari to the current administration, the Nigerian military all of a sudden appears so weak. And we suspect where that is coming from. It's because there are people who have infiltrated the rank and files, people who have infiltrated the command structure that makes them weak. Now, with the appointment of General Musa, I'm afraid if General Musa did not do the first thing first, which is let us fish out these officers and commanders who seems to have been compromised in the military first. That's the only way I think he can actually handle the situation and help President Tinubu to fight this battle. So this call for some high level thinking anyway. Because of my time, let me just read a couple more comments. I think we have just like about 15 minutes more here. All right. Josie is saying another way to loot our money. Well, let's see how that goes. Francis, how are you doing? Francis said, honestly, that is a good call from Tinubu, but Tinubu have to trust him, believe him, and give him strong support because of all cabal that surrounded Asuro. Man, Francis, one Don Pedro for you. That's a good one. Shout out to Uncle Patrick. Uncle Patrick, you're welcome, sir. Uncle Patrick said, Reverend Achomo said, Musa is a good man. VDM just released a video how Musa invited him, and a good man also. God will deliver Tinubu from all the cabals. Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging in there. I think I'm enjoying the conversation and all the dialogue so far. But let me do this. Let me end this with what Very Dark Man said about General Musa before we call it a day. Listen to this.
And now I'm pretty sure you all have seen the news that President Bola Tinubu have nominated the former Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, for the position of Minister of Defense. And this is because the seat of the Minister of Defense is currently vacant because the Minister of Defense had resigned. Badaru, in the name of Badaru Abubakar. So he resigned about 2-3 days ago. So President Bola Tinubu is saying that they should bring back the Chief of Defense Staff who they sacked before. They just removed him out of office mysteriously. Nobody knew why they removed him. So now President Bola Tinubu is bringing him back. And when I saw the news, I laughed. You know why I laughed? Because to be very, very honest, sometimes politics don't make these people see the truth and don't make these people see people that are capable. Now, let me tell you something about Christopher Musa, right? On the 14th of June, 2025, an attack happened in Yelwata where some headsmen pipe over 200 persons in their homes in Yelwata, Benue State. They even set them ablaze. They burned them with fire. On the 14th/15 was when this thing happened. So on the 15th morning, when I heard the news early in the morning, I went to Yelwata. When I got to Yelwata, because I noticed that our media were not going there to go and cover it. The attack happened on the 13th. So I went there on the 15th morning. So when I got there, I went to the scene. It was horrible. I covered the whole scene. I made a video of it, went to different rooms. If you go back to the video, even though for some reason, Instagram, Facebook, all over social media, it has been deleted. I'm sure it will be on Twitter. Anyway, so I took a video. Some people will say fire don't burn. They burn children inside their house. You know, they light their fire everywhere. They bite people like animal. So when I posted it online, it raised a lot of awareness, right? In less than 3 hours, I had over 50,000 comments on that post, right? So it went so viral. The government were forced to put attention on Benue State, and they started going to Benue State. The police were there, army were there. President Bola Tinubu said he was going to come. The whole attention was on Benue State. So after that, on the 17th, the Chief of Defense Staff he appeared on Channels TV, and then he was asked some questions. The response he gave, I was not pleased with that. And as a result of that, I was so angry because I was traumatized. I went to Benue State, I saw the thing firsthand, and I started thinking that, God, shit, this kind of thing happened to us. So when he said that thing on Channels, me, I blast him. I'm not gonna lie, I blast the man. So this was the day, this was on the 17th of June. I said, the speech from the CDS, General Christopher Musa on Channels News about what might be the cause of the Benue massacre by headsmen just unlock another fear in me. At this point, to the great people of Nigeria, may our ancestors be with us. So when I posted this, on the 19th, around 10, they just told me that army were looking for me. I said, army, okay. They said, yes. I panicked. That's which while I'll go with army. I can't remember, say, I don't blast Christopher Musa. I say, wow. Anyways, I just said, no, while let's go. Because two things came into my head. If they won't buy me, if they don't buy me, since they already know where I did, and they don't know how to track me. So let's go. I didn't know who was looking for me. They just said army was looking for me. Next thing I enter motor. The they drove me. Boom! We got to Asokoro. When we got to Asokoro, we entered into the military base. When we got into the military base, we just drove up. Bam! When they opened the door, guess who I saw? Christopher Musa. When I saw him, I see the person when I blast online. I looked the man like this. This was on the 19th. Stroke. This was at around maybe 11:30-ish. No, 10:30-ish. Then when we entered, he now told everybody to go outside, that they should leave the both of us to sit down. Then we sat down. Then he looked at me. He said, "Very dark man." I said, "Sir." He said, "I know you." I said, "Yes, nice to meet you, sir." He said, "Do you know why I brought you here?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "I need your help." Nah. I was looking at the man like, what? He said, "I need your help." I said, "Sir, help on what?" He said, "You need to tell me everything that you noticed when you went to Yelwata. You were the first person with a camera that went there. People didn't go there. People were scared to go there. So you should tell me everything you noticed that day when you got to Yelwata, and what you think and the information that you might have gathered after the whole Yelwata thing."
Mama, you never signed one of your paper.
Before I came to Christopher Musa, I was in contact.
You haven't signed one of your paper.
With some people that I believe were part of, or not really part of, the people that know the history of what is happening between the Fulanis in Benue. As a matter of fact, I was already talking to some Fulani. As a matter of fact, we had arranged a meeting with them, myself, to go into the bush. I was going to go into the bush to go and meet them, right?
Yeah,
so I told him, I said, "Sir, because you asked, this is what I found out. These are videos." Because the Fulanis, they also sent me videos. They sent me a lot of videos about how they don't take Biden. I can't tell them, say, even when I said videos there everywhere, how far? What is really going on? Like, when does this stop? The people of Benue have gone through attacks severally. At what point? This attack has been repeated on the people of Benue. At what point does this stop? Do you need me to come and ask your guy what is happening? Is he willing to speak? They said he's willing to speak. Told me. I said, "Okay, no problem. I'm going to come. Give me a location." He said they can't give me a location like that. But when I'm ready, they'll tell me how to come. Now, guess why these people spoke to me? They told me one thing. They said, "You very dark man, we talk to you because you don't collect money." That was when I knew that integrity had brought me far. They said they were willing to speak to me because I don't collect money. Basically, these people observe. They have seen that very dark man does not do adverts, he does not do promotions and all that, he does not collect money, right? So they were talking to me, sending me videos. I can't post those videos here, but I have them on my phone. But I can't post those. They sent me different videos of their cows that were buyed. I have a particular video where one of them was giving fuel to drink. A lot of them were burned. Different. He was just sending me a lot of videos. Then me said, on the other hand, I was sending him to that almost, when I said don't buy a lot of people. So where do we go from here? So I tabled everything to the then chief of defense staff, Christopher Musa. When he saw everything, he just said, "Okay, thank you very much. We'll take it off from here. Please, whatever information you have, you should let me know." This is a picture for those of you who are going to proceed now talk. Then we took this picture that day, as you can see, on the 20th of June 2025. That's when we took this picture. Other people for carry and go post online. Imagine when they know, say, I need the chief of defense staff for a house. This is when you are finding out, right? Because it was classified. But now I feel they need to say it because now I see. Because the reason why I'm talking now, when they said they had removed him as the chief of defense staff, I just shook my head. You know why I shook my head? Because that man is a man that was looking for solution. For that man to call very dark man, to come to his house and look at me in my eyes. This is the chief of defense staff, bro. He looked at me in my eyes and told me that I need your head. That's somebody that is not ashamed to get information from anywhere. There's no pride whatsoever. Anything that will make him help the country is in for it. This is somebody that wants the country to move forward. So if he can come down to come and ask very dark man, that is above very dark man, is way above my level. right? If you can come down to say, okay, yes, this man can literally say, boys should go and catch me and buy me. This should hunt me, buy me. But he called me. He humbled himself to say, I need your help. Meaning that this man can go anywhere to ask for information to make sure he correct the security of the country. So the day that I saw that they removed Christopher Musa, I just shook my head. I don't talk to since that day, I don't make any comments. I didn't say one thing till today when I talk. And the only reason why I'm talking today is because I heard that they've nominated him for the chief of, they have nominated him for the Minister of Defense. To be very, very honest, me, I'm not a politician, but you see that single act from Christopher Musa to come into his house, to ask me questions and what I know, and start telling me that anything I get from now on, please, I should send it to him, I should alert him, that should alert the military, and I should alert him. That's anything you let me know. I know how many things I've called him for after then. I say, Ogasa, the whole thing that happened in Edo State, it was him, I called. I said, Oga, they demolish this place, army. I sent it to him. Did I mention that online? No. So if they're nominating him, I just hope he gets the position. I just hope so. But if he doesn't, mashallah. But I just hope, because that man is really passionate about the country. And it's not even about clouds. Because waiting, the man will cloud. You know, waiting. You never saw this picture online if I didn't show you today. Anyways, I just hope he's been given the position as a Minister of Defense. Peace and love, don't play. As you go online and you will learn the hard way. Don't play. Alright, so by now I'm going to show you all I've seen the news that President Bola Tinubu